Hey folks, this is Raekor, bringing you an update on the upcoming patch 2.12 for Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls. Now, in my last video on the patch, we went over some of the data mined patch notes, and a lot of those turned out to be true. Overall, the patch has some positive changes coming to itemization and especially greater rifts, in the form of killing the reliance on conduit pylons, as well as increasing mob density and greater rift layouts. But what we're going to discuss in this video are the major changes coming to the Monk, Barbarian, and Demon Hunter classes. If you have an endgame character of any of those three classes, 2.12 will change the way you play Diablo. We're going to go over all those changes, what they mean, and whether they are positive or negative. Let's start with the Demon Hunter. In my data mined patch notes video, I said that the M6 Demon Hunter as we know it is dead. And that did in fact turn out to be the case. However, what was unexpected is that the M6 Demon Hunter is now even more powerful than it once was. But let's clarify. When we talk about the M6 Demon Hunter, we're talking about a Demon Hunter using the full Marauder's 6-piece set bonus, which makes your sentries cast your equipped Hatred Spenders. That is no longer a Marauder set bonus. The new 4-set bonus makes your sentries cast your Hatred Spenders when you do, and for the 6-set bonus, your Generators, Elemental Arrow, Chakram, Impale, Multi-Shot, and Cluster Arrow deal 100% increased damage for every active sentry. So when we say that the M6 Marauder is dead, what we mean is the passive set it and forget it playstyle is dead. At BlizzCon, Blizzard admitted that this was poor design. That it was powerful, but that it was not engaging to play. It wasn't fun. Now, of course, your mileage may vary, but I do encourage you to test it out for yourself. A lot of people who have really do enjoy this new Marauder's playstyle. You now actually have to shoot things. You have to do some work yourself beyond just surviving. Rather than your damage coming entirely from your sentries are buffing your damage, and the brunt of the damage is coming from you, or at least a significant portion of it. One build that is completely dead though is the Lightning M6 Demon Hunter, the currently best Demon Hunter build for climbing the Greater Rift leaderboards. The Lightning build is dead because it relied on you maintaining 100% uptime on Smokescreen. That is no longer possible. The cooldown on Smokescreen has been increased, and Night Stalker, the passive that gives you back discipline, has been redesigned. It now gives you hatred, so the Lightning Demon Hunter is just dead. And what's really interesting to me about this is that this new Marauder harkens back to two previous playstyles for the Demon Hunter, two previous best builds. The first is the original best 2.11 Demon Hunter build, which was the Ice and Fire build. So we're back to using the Bombardier's Rucksack. You want those additional sentries, because more sentries means more damage. But really the biggest influence for me is the original best Reaper of Souls Demon Hunter build, which was the Cluster Arrow build. This was before the days when you had sets. That's right, can you remember a time when it was so difficult to complete a set those first few weeks of Reaper of Souls? That's when the Cluster Arrow Demon Hunter dominated. It was a fire build. It used Reaper's Wraps in order to restore hatred, and we're seeing Reaper's Wraps make a comeback with the top leaderboard Demon Hunters. The best chess piece was the Cinder Coat. It buffs your fire damage and reduces the resource cost of fire skills by 30%. This is replacing Tasker and Theo as the best substitute for an M6 piece. Tasker and Theo is no longer necessary for this build. Actually, it's not just no longer necessary, you'd be gimping yourself if you go for it. Your sentries only cast your Hatred Spenders when you do, so getting them to shoot faster isn't going to help you much. If you want to swap out that glove slot, you can go with a Mage Fist if you're doing the fire build. You can go with Frostburns if you're doing a cold build. But overall, I really do think we're going to be seeing the Cinder Coat be the best in slot M6 substitute. Another common one though is substituting the Helm for Pride's Fall, which decreases the resource cost of all skills by 30% if you haven't taken damage for 5 seconds. Pride's Fall is a Haradra cash item, so it's easy to farm, but I really do think that the Cinder Coat will be the best in slot because it combines the damage buff of fire with that resource cost reduction. Overall though, these changes are positive changes. They are going to change the Demon Hunter meta. A lot of people found that style of play boring. If I'm to be honest though, personally, I'm gonna miss it. I'm gonna miss my set it and forget it Demon Hunter, because it meant that I could stream, and I could pay attention to the stream chat while playing Diablo and not have to focus super hard on what's going on. But hey, at least it's not a nerf. You actually end up being overall more powerful than you were with the standard M6. Alright, I can keep going on about the Demon Hunter, but I'm gonna move on to the Monk now. For the Monk, the current best endgame build is a Holy Monk using the Sunwuko set, the Monkey King's Garb set. And that basically relies entirely on spamming a mantra to summon decoys that do all the damage for you. It was an interesting playstyle, and it was the most powerful Monk build to emerge since Reaper of Souls. And it was a welcome change for Monk players, but Blizzard has now changed Sunwuko's set to make it even better. So the old 4-piece bonus used to be spending 75 spirit causes a decoy to spawn that explodes for 3,500 weapon damage as holy. Now, one of the problems here was that the fact that this decoy exploded as holy damage basically restricted you to a holy build. You can't do a cold variation of Sunwuko's set, because no matter what, your decoys are doing holy damage, and all of your damage is coming from your decoys. Well, the new Sunwuko's bonuses are, for your 2-set bonus, casting Cyclone Strike, Exploding Palm, Lashing Tail Kick, Tempest Rush, or Wave of Light causes a decoy to spawn that explodes for 1,000 weapon damage. Now that might sound like a nerf, but we're not done yet. The 4-set bonus, when your decoy explodes, you gain a buff that increases the damage of Cyclone Strike, Exploding Palm, Lashing Tail Kick, Tempest Rush, and Wave of Light by 500% for 3 seconds. Again, the main issue with the Sunwuko set was that all your damage is coming from your clones, and you're just spamming your mantra to constantly hit that 75 spirit cost. What the new Sunwuko set does is allow you to be contributing part of that damage, and rather than just spamming a mantra, you're actually attacking. So this is kind of similar to what happened with the Demon Hunter. Now Demon Hunters are actually attacking, now Monks are actually attacking. It's like Blizzard realized that we like to do stuff. You know, like killing things ourselves is more fun than watching other things kill things. The decoys will deal the same type of damage as the skill used to activate them. This is going to allow for tremendous diversity in experimentation with this set now, between the various elements that it unlocks, and we're actually seeing cold monks being really powerful now, and all the different skills you can choose from. And personally, my favorite part of this is that Tempest Rush is now viable again. Tempest Rush monks were my favorite monks before Reaper of Souls. I had my Infinite Tempest Rush monk, and I was so happy with it. And we're actually seeing Tempest Rush not only make a comeback, but actually be a really powerful skill in this build now. But wait, there's more. The best part of all this for monks is that monks are now topping the leaderboards. They've been edging out Demon Hunters. They're edging out the Barbarians now, but that's because the Barbarians got some bad news coming. But still, it's actually becoming awesome now to be a monk. It used to be, well, if you were a monk, sucks to be you. Then in 2.11, it was like, hey, yeah, monks are finally good enough. And now it's like, damn, son, monks be the shit, yo. I promise I'll never do that again. Alright, enough about the monk, onto the Barbarian. And unfortunately, we're going to be ending this video on a dour note. This change kind of came out of nowhere. We weren't expecting it at first. Then Blizzard makes this announcement. The Raekor Barb, which is currently the most powerful Barb build, and arguably the most powerful build in the game for clearing Greater Rifts, at least combined with Conduits. The Raekor set is also being changed, but it's debatable now whether this change is for the best. The Marauder and Sunwuko changes made the gameplay more fun and made the builds more powerful. Whether that holds true for the Raekor's changes is still up in the air, and people have mixed feelings about it. Now the first change coming affects the Dreadnought rune of Furious Charge. That's the rune that would pull all enemies hit to your destination. Now instead of doing that, it grants Furious Charge 2 charges, similar to the Monk's Dashing Strike. So just keep in mind, 2 charges now, but you're not pulling in enemies anymore. So the new Reaper set bonuses do look like a buff. The 2 set bonus, the first enemy hit by Furious Charge takes 100% additional damage. 4 set, Furious Charge gains the effect of every rune, and the 5 set, enemies hit by your Furious Charge take 3000% weapon damage over 3 seconds. So at first glance, these changes help with single target DPS. And as I explained in the guide, that's really where the Raekor set suffers the most. It's great at clearing groups, but weak at clearing Rift Guardians. These changes definitely improve the single target DPS. However, the question is, by how much? And does it make a big enough difference to justify the massive nerf that I haven't yet made apparent, but it goes back to that rune change. The previous Raekor's gameplay revolved around that vacuum effect. You would scoot around pulling in more and more and more and more enemies, and the more enemies you pulled in, the more damage you would deal, and the more your cooldowns would reset. Now, whether this is overall a nerf to the Raekor Barb depends on your angle. People are getting mixed results. But what it's looking like is these changes make the Raekor Barb better for, let's say, quote-unquote average players, but inferior for players that consider themselves very skilled. So average players are finding that clearing Torment 6 is easier, and that doing Greater Rifts is easier, but the highly skilled players are saying, no, when you get into the higher Greater Rifts, this is actually worse. And if you take a look at the leaderboards are reflecting this. Pre and post this change on the PTR, we're seeing a difference of, I don't know, roughly 10 levels in the highest Greater Rift that was cleared by a solo Barbarian. The biggest issue for me is that it fundamentally alters the playstyle of the Raekor Barb in a way that does not necessarily make it more fun. Again, the new Demon Hunter is more engaging and just about everyone says it's more fun. Even those like myself, who like the passive Demon Hunter, can't argue that actually attacking isn't more fun. It doesn't mean that I have to prefer this new playstyle, but I do have to say that yeah, it's probably more fun. Same with the Monk. It's more fun to be attacking yourself. But we can't say that this new Barbarian playstyle is more fun. It's different, but the old playstyle was fun, and I really liked it. Overall, what's happening is the new Raekors is substituting that charge forward and kite a whole bunch of enemies around you like a running S of Johann amulet. I think they call this the bus driver playstyle. And they're changing it to more zipping back and forth on the same screen, kind of like a ping pong ball. Because now you're going to be relying more on that 3000% weapon damage over 3 seconds. You're not pulling in enemies, so you're relying a lot more on a damage over time. So the big question is, why is Blizzard changing Raekors at all? And the answer actually comes from community manager Nevilistus, and it basically boils down to an apparent issue that Raekor Barbs weren't fun to play with in a party. The word offensive was used to describe the playstyle, and the analogy used was, it reminds you of that kid on the playground who would take the ball and run with it, rather than passing it around and letting the other kids play with him. And he goes on to say, rather than charging forever forward, it should feel good to charge through existing groups before moving on to the next pack. And it'll be even better if your buddies line them up for you to knock him back down. Personally, this was never an issue for me, but the net result does seem to be that charging is more fluid now, but again that this just is not as viable at the higher Greater Rifts. And that the Raekor Barb, even with these buffs, still sucks at single target DPS. I'll wrap up this video here. Overall, I think patch 2.12 will be bringing positive changes to the game, and again, it's still in PTR, so we still could see some changes coming. Check back in the future for more updates. Leave a comment letting me know your thoughts on 2.12 so far. Thank you for watching, check out these other videos, and if you enjoyed this video, share it with friends, hit like, and subscribe to join Raekor's Raiders.